Well, good evening. I hope this finds you well. Here we are at another midweek Bible study. We are back in person after our little brief stint with the the freezing precipitation. Let's just put it that way. Glad you're here. Still want to encourage you to come and be a part of what we're doing live. I think you'd really get something out of it. There's a reason we gather in person, and hope that you'll consider being a part of that if you are able. Irregardless, we'll get started today. We have made our way all the way to chapter 12 of Isaiah, and so we continue marching on through this incredible book, both prophetic and certainly gives us hope as it talks about Jesus and what we have to look forward to. This one has a title placed upon it called A Hymn of Praise. And just so that we're understanding the whole context of what's going on at this point, we need to take a brief pause here. In chapter 1, we see a disappointed parent, as one commentator put it, in a child that has gone wrong. Then through chapter 11, we see the anger that God has for his people because of what they did. And don't get me wrong, it was absolutely deserved, and it was even earned, unfortunately. Now, God provided hope throughout the process, even if the people didn't immediately turn back to him. And it seems to have a larger pan of view, or at least God seems to have a larger pan of view than we do. Even with the judgment on the people, we only saw in chapter 10 where the oppressing nations would also suffer from what they were doing. Something interesting about this chapter is that it is similar to what Moses did with the Hebrew people as he followed God's lead in taking the people away from Egypt and their captivity there. They sang a song of celebration after their exit. This is found, if you want to look it up, in Exodus 15. This chapter also provides a good transition to the next section, or into the next section of the book. So that's important as well. In the first 4 verses, scholars seem to think that there are 2 separate hymns here, as verse 1 and 4 have what looks like an introduction. The problems that persist with that is the use of plurals. In verse 1, it seems to focus on a masculine and a singular audience, where verse 4 seems to be a plural audience. Now hold on, as there is another change in the last verse to the feminine singular, so just be aware of that. You'll also see a lot of what are sometimes called echoes of phrases that are found in many of the Psalms, but also out of the hymn in Exodus 15. So you get to see a picture of that as well. So as we get started, the first part of verse 1, it says, "And in that day you will say." Now this is not exactly the same as the Lord's Day, as we've talked about leading up to this. And we did that just a few chapters ago. However, it does speak to a time when things are made right between the people and God. And this part of the verse is what looks like it to be singular in focus. The rest of the verse says, "O Lord, I will praise you. Though you were angry with me, your anger is turned away, and you comfort me. Behold, God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. For Yahweh, the Lord, is my strength and song. He also has become my salvation." Now this verse echoes Psalm 68:19. This also focuses on 2 contrasting themes of trust and fear. It follows the statement that God is my salvation. These themes are similar to what you find in the Exodus account, which is also in Psalm 78:53. Now the contrast is focused on the meanings of 2 words, epta, which means I will trust, and the word ebhad, which means I will fear. You know that fear of the Lord means that we are reverent in our approach and our focus on him. After all, he is God and we are not. Some scholars divide these first 2 verses from verses 3 through 6. Now let's break these 2 verses down just a little bit. They are relatively easy to understand. You can see that although God was angry, he was also providing, though, comfort, and he was bringing comfort. Behold means to see or observe. Both of these are things that are seen with what God provides. The most impressive thing is salvation. This provides a foundation for the trust and the relieving of fear. You can see Yahweh as the foundation of the strength needed to function, as well as the only source of salvation. Verse 3 says, "Therefore with joy you will draw water from the wells of salvation." Now, covering this, we could certainly see that joy comes from our relationship and our salvation through God and God alone. Something you might miss here, though, is the reverence, or the reference, if you will, to water. Think about the climate that Israel has is a desert climate. You can certainly see the importance of water there. However, water is crucial for our survival as well. Thinking of that in the context of truly living, God is the crucial part in our survival in our eternity, or for our eternity. And the wells of salvation are very deep. It is the depths of our hope. That's where our hope is founded, because of what God promised us for that eternity. Verse 4 says, "And in that day you will say, praise the Lord, call upon his name, declare his deeds among the peoples, make mention that his name is exalted." Now this verse is close to that in Psalm 105. It also echoes what is found in Psalm 148:13. We see the transition happens here with the "in that day" statement again. Now, this day shows the day of the Lord. However, as an application to where we are today, this is similar to what we are called to do with our relationship with Christ. The dead in sin will live with Christ illustrates our call to tell the world. We are to lift up the name of God in all that we do and all that we say, and it very well could save the life, or will save the life, of people that accept it. But they don't hear it unless we take it. Verse 5 says, "Sing to the Lord, for he has done excellent things. This is known in all the earth." This one echoes what's found in Psalm 105, verses 2, 5, and 7. For all of you who say they don't sing, take a closer look here. I know this doesn't literally mean to express music from your lips. However, it does point to the expectation that we are a song of the Lord to the world in the way that we live our lives, as well as through each of our words. So why do we do this? Let's illustrate that question with this. What does your relationship with Christ mean to you? If he has truly done excellent things in your life, all that comes out of you should be a representation of him. Not because you have to, but because you get to, because of what he's done in your life. Verse 6 says, "Cry out and shout, O inhabitant of Zion, for great is the Holy One of Israel in your midst." Now this final verse is feminine singular, and it is about receiving and not giving. God did what he did for us. The feminine singular part is the royal Zion that's mentioned. It is described in Isaiah 1:8. Like a booth in a vineyard, this is a shelter in the vineyard. God provides a mighty shelter as he also resides among the people. Think about a vineyard for a moment. The vineyard is supposed to be living and growing vines, right? And you should see fruit, and you should see all of that come. Well, that's going to happen when God inhabits that with us. But that growing part comes through our telling and our going and our doing and all of those things, and our life change that happens because of us accepting Christ. That helps that tree continue to grow and those vines to be grafted together to be a growing, functioning garden, if you will. Now, one thing that we don't think about much either is that it points to the protection that God also provides for the nation of Israel. It's not only seen by the Israelites, but also all the nations that surround them. It shows the intimate connection between God and his people, and it absolutely shows the power that God has over all the rest of humanity. That was a very long lesson today. It was all a grand total of 6 verses. We won't get that every week, but we got a short one, if you will. on a day that we have a business meeting, so that may work out a little bit. Wanted to share that with you. Glad that you joined us online, but again, I pray and hope that you will join us in person. May God bless you, and I hope the rest of your week is incredible.